match is going to be between Cedric DeRouchie and Colton Pope.
So yeah, it should be a really cool matchup here. We see Reynala popping up on stream, so always a cool team to see, something that really wasn't around for most of the format. Kind of picked up popularity going into Worlds and here in the post-World, so really kind of interested to see what these teams are going to bring us, because in the first match of this round, like,
we saw some wild
we got
stuff.
delayed, so there's a lot to live up to with this one, but hopefully should be a good match.
All right, so this is actually the first Stack Attacka that we've had on stream today as well. So that's, you know, exciting. Just because I really like Stack Attacka.
Right, Stack
personally.
Attacka.
Its design is so absurd, I love it.
Stack Attacka is kind of a Pokemon that I saw people have like mixed feelings about. Like, for some people, it's like the best mon in the world, right? But some people just can't get it to work. But it's often kind of viewed as like a third restricted. Really great against Xerneas, which Cedric not running in this case.
Right.
We see Gengar, Kyogre, Rayquaza, Celesteela, Tapu Koko, and Incineroar. So Ray Ogre's kind of making a little bit of a comeback with this tournament, from what I've seen.
We saw Ray Ogre earlier when oh goodness,
Alex Underhill on stream with round
Underhill.
2. Alex was running that Metagross though instead of the Gengar that Cedric's running, so really kind of interested to see what adaptations that Gengar is going to present to that team instead of what the Metagross does. Of course, Gengar traditionally really good versus Xerneas.
Yeah, and honestly, like, Gengar's not a bad
and then
option
you have
against
Lunala.
Lunala.
Yeah, you have Lunala here too,
like,
which is a great option. So, and of course, Cedric, this is the same 6 as Wolf Glick. So, have to be interested to see if these are the same sets or if he's taken it to his own liking
and kind of like
and
made it more
made
what
this
he's
team
comfortable with.
Yes. So, from that regard, I think it'll be a really cool matchup. I feel like this one's pretty even. Reynala both typically pretty. Rayquaza and Lunala very good against Kyogre and Rayquaza, but vice versa.
Right.
Like the Rayquaza and Kyogre, they like these 4 restrictions can trade one shots with each other all day.
Right, because you know, like Kyogre, what 80-90% of the times carrying Ice Beam, like why would it not? You know, if it can take away strong winds and hit it with that 4 times effective Ice Beam, you know, like you're always looking at board position, figuring out how you can take KOs.
Right, and we see the leads here. Cedric going to lead that Incineroar, Tapu Koko, and Colton leading Lunala, Incineroar. So, if I'm kind of a neutral board state here, I'd say Lunala, of course, starting Tapu Koko. Tapu Koko can always, like, we've seen kind of a shift towards like Guardian Alola lately. Always has the potential for a big Z move.
Right.
But the Incineroar's going to be, I think the Incineroar in this matchup is really important for Colton.
Right.
Like, normally Incineroar is a Pokemon you really don't want to bring to Ray Ogre, but the pivoting options, and we talked about the importance of getting your restricteds in at the right time.
Right, and with Colton looking like, you know, he's got a pretty solid looking Trick Room core, you know, like Stack Attacka, Mungus, and Incineroar can definitely help out here. Another important thing is, like, if both of these Incineroars go to U-turn, the slower Incineroar is going to be an advantage, because you can switch in, you know, to what your opponent, you know, to respond.
Right. And we do see that Nature's Madness from Tapu Koko onto that Lunala, so really good damage there. One of the pluses about that Nature's Madness is ignoring Shadow Shield as a whole. And we see Trick Room go up for Colton here. So like you had mentioned, want to take the game a little bit slower here.
Right.
So now Lunala is in a great position to not only start dealing with this Tapu Koko, but opening up a door for the Amoonguss, for the Stack Attacker, maybe even the Rayquaza in the back.
You say Lunala's in a great position. It still is going to move after Cedric's Incineroar, which is
switching
or
out
maybe
now.
not.
But,
so,
however, we do see Celesteela come in, and Celesteela really doesn't have an issue with just kind of sitting around in these trick rooms and just firing off some leech seeds.
Right. Celesteela is going to have no problem with that Stack Attacka. You know, it's not going to worry about Rayquaza. You know, it's not worried about the damage it's going to take. So it's a pretty solid switch in here. I do like the Protect from Colton there, because he didn't want to take a Dark move from that Incineroar before getting his Amoonguss onto the field. As we do see this Volt switch, so that's a good way for Cedric to reposition. You know, like I was saying earlier with the the slower Incineroar being at an advantage because you switch out after your opponent so you can bring in something to respond to what they have. In the same way, Tapu Koko in Trick Room, it's crazy fast normally, so it's going to be going last, and so that gives Cedric, a little bit of room to respond.
Right. And what once looked like a very good spot for Colton to start making the most of this Trick Room, Cedric's kind of closed the door on that a little bit. We see Celesteela in, 2 bulky Pokemon, Incineroar comes back in, so there's potential for a Fake Out, so another turn of Trick Room. Always can U-turn around, bring Incineroar back in. So really great play from Cedric there. Just kind of shutting down, I guess, Colton's hope of getting a lot of work done under the Trick Room.
So you do see Colton switching out his Lunala in favor of the Incineroar, and this is just, it's good game management by Cedric because he's preventing Colton from being able to take advantage of these Trick Room turns, and especially with Electric Terrain active, Amoonguss becomes much less threatening when it doesn't have the threat of Spore.
Right. Great play by Cedric there, knowing that Celesteela is a prime target for that Spore. Getting into Tapu Koko, and once again, Cedric just kind of in control of this board state.
For sure.
Has U-turn and Volt Switch right now. Really just can kind of set it up however he pleases.
Exactly. Cedric's in a position where he can bring in what he needs to, figure out how he needs to deal with these Pokemon. Of course, Colton threatening Fake Out pressure, but if he goes for a Fake Out, Amoonguss isn't dealing a whole lot of damage. It's...
And we see Cedric hard switching out his Incineroar once again, so... And into Kyogre, actually, so maybe thinking, okay, Colton might be going for something like a Flare Blitz and a Clear Smog going to this Tapu Koko. Kyogre not gonna let that happen at all.
Right, so Kyogre is going to turn off any fire moves if Incineroar chooses to go for them. Could be a little risky, although I can't imagine that Colton would be going for a grass-type attack into the former Incineroar slot. So we do see the Protect coming out in a Flare Blitz. So that's just a free switch for Cedric, and he gets it again. He gets the Volt Switch off into the Incineroar rather into the Protect, and now he gets to reposition again. Right.
So now, once again, something that looks like a little bit questioning for Cedric, just get on out of there, and now suddenly, we talked about how he was going to be able to get through this Trick Room defensively. Kyogre getting out at the end of this Trick Room.
Now he can get in offensive.
Now he's the one putting on the pressure in this Trick Room. That Electric Trend, like you mentioned, Tapu Koko is so important because this Amoonguss can't be put to sleep. And you saw Lunala's at that 50% health. Can't take a water spout.
It can't switch into a water spout.
Rayquaza, while it is a Dragon type, still doesn't like it.
Yeah, you don't want to be taking any of that chip damage, like if you're the bulky AV set, or if you're, don't want to be put in range where another attack can KO.
So great positioning there by Cedric, just waiting for his opportunity to start getting these big hits off with his restricted Pokemon. And if you're Colton, really just kind of trying to figure out how to mitigate damage at this point.
Yeah, so Colton hard switching out his Incineroar for the Lunala and goes for a Clear Smog into Cedric's Incineroar. And Incineroar goes for a U-turn, so this is going to let Cedric reposition again, and that Lunala is just in danger right now. It just came in.
Right, you would have, if this is a water spout from Cedric, you would have to assume that this Lunala is going to be going
it's
down.
just hard to imagine that there's a reason to not click water spout right now, and there we do see it coming out.
And great play by Cedric.
Did a ton of damage just to the Amoonguss.
We see the strength of Kyogre here. There's a reason that Ray Ogre has been a thing for so long. There's just so much damage output from this team. And Cedric didn't even bring the Rayquaza, yet here's Kyogre doing all of this damage with those full-powered water spouts. We do see Rayquaza on Colton's side.
Yeah, so we do see the Ray now. It's not in a bad spot, right? It's going to, depending on its moveset, it's going to struggle to hit the Celesteela for meaningful damage. But, Ray can deal some good damage to this Kyogre to at least, mitigate the water spout damage.
Right, but while that Rayquaza is in a good position to potentially start firing off some damage, Cedric's manages board perfectly, taking advantage of his pressure, now getting the Celesteela out when Rayquaza needs to, Rayquaza not being able to do really anything to Celesteela, and preserving this Incineroar, so now weakening Rayquaza's damage output. No heavy slam switching, right now for Colton. So.
Right, so the Amoonguss not switching out for that Incineroar, which is, I mean, it's the other Pokemon that Colton brought.
Right.
But it's one of the only things that can take a Heavy Slam comfortably anyways.
Right.
So, no Protect here either, so the Dragon Ascent coming out into what was the Kyogre, so that just is a really great switch by Cedric, you know. Incineroar's kind of done its job.
And that
takes
did a lot of damage at -1, so definitely
the
choice banded
yeah.
Rayquaza here. Something that's really kind of fallen to the wayside as of recently. We've seen that Berry SD set.
The 50% Berry plus Swords Dance has been gaining a lot of popularity. Yeah, so with the choice band, that's going to make it tough for this Rayquaza, you know, to clean up the game.
Right.
Because, you know, Cedric can cycle some Intimidates on it, you know, and just really kind of like, again, how is it going to deal damage to Celesteela?
And of course, being locked in the Dragon State, you're lowering your defenses the entire time.
So every attack is going to be dealing more damage each turn.
And really just greatly put, like, great game there from Cedric.
Yeah, Cedric has done, he did such a good job playing through that Trick Room and getting his offensive presence on the field right at the right time.
Right. Like, understanding that, okay, really had nothing to immediately deal with Lunala at the time. He's like, okay, you do, just really kind of letting Colton get his own little thing going for a little bit, but still, the way he was playing, he kept options open for everything.
Exactly.
And he's now reaping the benefits of this.
Yeah, and I like this switch in for Tapu Koko. It's going to resist the flying type attack, and you know you've got to imagine that Cedric's aware of the choice.
Yeah, you have
damage,
to assume it's choice band after that damage.
Like, and so now Celesteela is in a. Okay.
I actually really like that Leech Seed play there. You don't know if Heavy Slam's gonna KO, and you don't want to risk like the Incineroar being faster and potentially critting that. Just kind of giving the Pokemon in the back, like we're gonna see this Intimidate cycling.
Right.
So really just allowing those Pokemon which are just kind of heal themselves back up. So I think that's fine. This also gives him the option where he's going to be able to heal up, he can protect Celesteela, and Tapu Koko can go right back out into Incineroar, and then we can see Fake Out Heavy Slam into there.
It's an easy day. Yeah. So
that's just another thing where he's just setting himself up for the the end game with that. So great, just keeping total control of the score. We actually see Celesteela is the one that switches out for Incineroar. So another Intimidate going down on this Rayquaza.
Yeah, so this Rayquaza is now -2. You know, definitely putting Incineroar in the best position, or excuse me,
but we see the Electro Web come out from Tapu Koko there, so probably signaling Assault Vest at this point, if I had to guess.
You know,
maybe it could be Guardian of Alola. Like we've seen Electro Web, Nature's Madness, Volt Switch, that was the Tapu Koko set from the top 4 of the World Championships. So if you're Colton, really probably want to try and figure that out as soon as possible. We see, even with that extra Intimidate, Dragon Ascent is still able to KO. So, could be an interesting part of the game here. With that Tapu Koko going down, not seeing something like a Twinkle Tackle there, like we're used to seeing. Rayquaza still has the opportunity to just get these Dragon Ascents out, maybe get some crits, per se.
Yeah, so, you know, Rayquaza's going to struggle to hit the Celesteela. But even at -2, it's probably not too, you know, it's going to deal good damage to Kyogre.
And we see Kyogre come out here, so Incineroar, that Fake Out is live, so a simple Fake Out Water Spout here can steal it.
So, and I really think the important thing on that last turn, I mean, one, getting Incineroar in safely for Fake Out, but also that Electro Web, you know, gives him the opportunity that, you know, even if he didn't have Fake Out, Kyogre's now in a much stronger position against this Rayquaza than previously. That Fake Out actually did a lot of damage thanks to how many defense drops through the Dragon Ascent defense drops. And so then we do see Water Spout coming out to take the game.
Right, and very dominant game.
It was a dominating performance.
I think one thing that's important to point out there is we saw his use of U-turn and Volt Switch in the early game, and there was never really any punish from Colton. Colton was so caught up in, okay, I have to get Trick Room up, just trying to, like, I guess, stick to a flowchart, just kind of ignoring those two Pokemon and let them switch around how they please, really came back to bite him in the endgame, because by the time that he got the Rayquaza out to start doing damage, Cedric had all the tools left to deal with it.
Right.
So I think if you're Colton, kind of have to pick up a little bit more of urgency in trying to pick up some of the KOs.
Right, like when you set Trick Room, you've only got 5
Right.
turns to utilize it.
When you're only going for U-turn and Clear Smog in your own Trick Room, usually not a very good blueprint for success.
But that is, that just shows like Cedric put him in a position where that was about the best he had.
Right. So I think if you're Colton here, that Tapu Koko on Cedric's side is a very big issue. Like,
absolutely.
I think
because with that Tapu Koko, Amoonguss loses so much of its
Right.
Threatening potential. If it can't put things to sleep, what's it even doing?
Right.
Because it's not like it threatens big damage, especially with Clear Smog against Cedric's team.
And in terms of that, we saw how important Voltage was, but the Electro Whip at the end of the game was also very important. We know
Right.
that this Rayquaza is choice locked.
Right, so it's not like you can even switch
yeah.
to Extreme Speed to get around
Right.
it.
One Electro Web is very big for Cedric's Kyogre in
Exactly.
the back. So this Tapu Koko really kind of dictated all aspects of that last game. Just preventing Amoonguss from doing work under Trick Room. Like you said, if there's no Tapu Koko, this game's probably completely different because Colton puts everything to sleep
Right.
under Trick Room.
Amoonguss is much more threatening without this Tapu Koko
Right.
on the field. So
I think if you're Colton, Tapu Koko is public enemy number 1
Exactly.
in this situation, and really gonna have to just try and deal with that in whatever way
Right.
possible.
I mean, deal with that and then stall out the terrain turns, and then you can start putting things to sleep.
Right.
It's just it's a tough situation. So we do see Colton actually going with the same lead that he used earlier, and Cedric also, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think we switched sides for the Incineroar Lunala on Colton's side.
That's all we got. So, be interesting to see how Colton adjusts in this situation because this lead really just didn't get a whole lot done in
Right.
game 1.
And so, also, like, in these situations, there's a lot of mind games, right? Because you're
Right.
like, all right, game 1, this is what I did, this is what my opponent did, and this is how it worked out.
Exactly.
So, like, if you're Cedric, you're like, all right, if I do this, it worked out for me, but is Colton going to punish me? Is he going to do... So now it's like, not only do you have to, like, try and make the read, you
Right.
just have to ask yourself what's happening. So
But
we don't see any fake-outs coming out right here. A Nature's Madness into
that Lunala.
Yeah, into
so
the Lunala.
repeat of game 1 in that regard. But we
However,
see Lunala
no
not
Trick
going
Room
for Trick
coming
Room
out. Going straight for the Moongeist beam, and that did, like,
That is
slightly under half.
Well,
so
that answers our
that's
question
definitely
about
an
the Tapu
AV
Koko.
an Assault Vest on the Tapu Koko.
Right.
So, and then we do see Colton's Incineroar going for the U-turn before Cedric's Incineroar. So if Cedric also went for a U-turn, he's going to have a chance to respond to whatever Colton brings out.
Right. And getting in Rayquaza, which is in a really good spot right here. Tapu Koko's already moved, so there's no threat of Electro Web.
This Snarl
anything.
is huge.
Snarl very big. A lot of damage out of Lunala. No Berry proc there. So maybe you gotta wonder if it's a Z move. It probably would have gone for that in the Tapu Koko
Right,
there.
if it's a Z move, Colton didn't really have a whole lot of reason to not go for it on
Right.
turn 1 because there was no threat of... Actually, I suppose there was a threat of an Incineroar switch in, but it would have required a hard switch plus a Volt switch.
Right.
There was almost no threat of an Incineroar switch in, which is the only thing Cedric has that can comfortably take a menacing Moonraze Maelstrom.
Right,
So,
but now, with that being said, this Rayquaza is in a really good spot still. We talked about the importance of potentially being able to fire off an extreme speed. That Moongeist
Right.
beam now puts Tapu Koko in range. However, if he wants to play around that, Dragon Ascent is still gonna do a lot of damage.
Dragon Ascent will be doing a lot of damage, so I do like Cedric switching the Celesteela in here. If Extreme Speed goes into the Tapu Koko slot, it's gonna be negligible.
Right.
Celesteela can easily heal that off of a couple of seeds.
But even though that Celesteela is getting in that slot, still a lot of potential for punish. But we see Colton not going to try and read that. Extreme Speed's in the Celesteela and takes no damage whatsoever.
Yeah. So the other thing that I do like here is by not Mega Evolving the Rayquaza, he kind of covers for a Kyogre switch in by being able to, you know, maintain some weather control later.
Right.
You know, potentially Colton was like, all right, yeah, with the choice band, this Tapu Koko's in range of non-Mega Extreme Speed. You know, so I don't need to Mega Evolve right now. So if I preserve that, so now, you know, weather or airlock is active, so there's, you know, the rain is not effective. If he Mega Evolves, the rain will be not effective, and that gives Incineroar a chance to actually be useful right now.
However, we say that the rain's active. I don't imagine Rayquaza really wants to stay in this situation.
That's fair.
Being extreme speed locked, and you're not KOing Kyogre with the threat of Ice Beam plus Heavy Slam, probably expecting to see this Rayquaza switch out. So if you're Cedric, this Kyogre's still in a great spot.
Well, the one thing though is Fake Out is active on the Incineroar, you know, so you've got options here.
But we do see a switch up from Colton's side. We see the Tapu Fini this time instead of a Mungus.
There.
So be interesting to see how this plays in. Tapu Fini sets typically kind of vary on this team per the user, but great switching for that Ice Beam or Water Spout option from Cedric's side. So we see the Celesteela actually switching out as well.
Yeah, so I think I like Cedric getting positioned for you know, for now, because now he's got Fake Out active on the field. He'll be able, you know, there's not a lot Colton can do to punish a Fake Out Water Spout right now.
Right.
Like, yeah, he can switch in Ray. It's still going to be taking damage. You know, he can't bring in Lunala. That'd just go down. You know, so like, Cedric's in a position for free damage thanks to that switch.
Yeah, really just gives him a lot of room to work with this turn. If he wants to get on, be a little gutsy, we've seen him play a little bit defensive, but we could see him jump on, like potentially trying to call it Rayquaza switch in with an Ice Beam, but it just gives him a lot of room to work with, a lot of damage. And we see Water Spout not doing a whole. Never mind.
That did some good
damage
to that Tapu Fini. And we didn't see a Fake Out, which means this Incineroar is still going to go for something. And oh, Waterium. That's what I want to see.
Tapu Fini.
Tapu Fini. This is another Z-move Tapu Fini. This time it's the Hydro Vortex rather than Twinkle Tackle. Incineroar is not going to like this attack.
There is. I'm going to say there's zero chance that this Incineroar is able to take this.
Hydro Vortex in the rain, unless it's the Focus Sash Incineroar.
Right.
But
yeah, we were questioning where the Z-move was on the team.
Yeah,
there
that's
it is.
the answer.
Another thing came from the World Championships. Aaron Trailer running the Waterium Z Tapu Fini on his Rayquaza Lunala team. So really great tech there to remove the Incineroar.
For sure.
That's important because no Intimidate now, and that's one less pivot option that Cedric has.
So yeah, now Rayquaza is in a much better position because now when it fires off an attack, it knows it's going to be full power.
Right. So we see Tapu Koko come back out. Interesting to see what this Tapu Koko's last move is. We know it's Assault Vest. But if it is that Wild Charge, Tapu Fini's not safe. And
that's true.
We have seen Electro Web from this Tapu Koko, so we could see some speed control options here. So I really think it's just going to come down to the Tapu Koko and the Rayquaza this turn. So
right. And, you know, if Rayquaza locks into something, you know, Cedric could potentially punish that, you know, but both players are kind of running out of options, right?
Like if you're Colton, of course you want to be Dragon Ascenting this Kyogre to remove it. But however, you've seen Electro Web, so you gotta be fearful of that. Like, do you call the Protect and Extreme Speed to Tapu Koko?
Protect plus Electro Web can be so punishing for Colton right now. You know, so like this turn right now, like you said, does come down between the Rayquaza and the Tapu Koko.
But I actually really like this play from Colton. We were talking about that potential Protect Electro Web play. This mitigates that completely.
Exactly.
Because now if he does go for it, you just have Fake Out Dragon Ascent the next turn. So we talked about Colton needing to take the initiative here, really setting the offensive tone with that play.
Exactly. Yeah, this puts Colton in a position where he can respond to whatever it is Cedric does.
Right.
And that's why, you know, that's another reason that Incineroar KO earlier was so important for him, because now he removes that option from Cedric. So we do see the Protect on the Kyogre, but it's with a
with the Volt Switch, surprisingly. So Celesteela are going to be able to come back out here. I think if you're Colton, you really don't mind that, honestly.
Yeah, because now you've got
because you still have Rayquaza out. There's no more Intimidate, so Dragon Ascent will probably, I'm going to assume, it KOs the Kyogre. Kyogre can be run bulky enough to take that, I believe. However, you have to assume there's going to be a Dragon Ascent fired in that slot. So Kyogre's either going to have to take it or Tapu Koko's going to have to go down. Fake out into Celesteela, so there's going to be, or potentially a Flare Blitz still. There's no rain anymore, so Flare Blitz could go into that slot. So a lot of options for Colton now. So just really much better played game from him this time around.
Exactly. He put himself in a position, and that Hydro Vortex Tapu Fini was really key because it removed one of Cedric's best options for preventing Colton from playing the game he wants to play.
Right.
Getting rid of that Incineroar, Incineroar's mostly only playing a support role, but by getting rid of it, he gave himself, took away the tools from Cedric that he needed to win the game.
Right.
I don't want to be putting the cart before the horse. This game is far from over.
We actually see Rayquaza switch out here, so what looked like a great position for Rayquaza, Colton figuring, I guess realizing he might need it for later, so wanting to get that out of there.
Not wanting to potentially give it up to a...
Not potentially want to give it up to an Ice Beam or a Heavy Slam.
Right.
However, because of that, he loses his Incineroar in the process.
I'm not sure why Colton wouldn't go for the fake out there. It felt unpunishable, but I'm not the one sitting there playing. There's could be plenty of things that I'm not seeing here.
Right.
And that Leech Seed into that Tapu Fini, that's just going to put it on a timer. So now Rayquaza's going to have to come back in and lock into a move. That's going to give Cedric the opportunity to figure out how to outplay it. Tapu Fini can't stick around forever. It doesn't have any form of recovery. So it's only 2 turns away from going down to Leech Seed.
I think the biggest thing from that turn was the Incineroar going down. Just like it was for Cedric, it is the biggest thing with Colton. Because now the Celesteela, we talked about Rayquaza running rampant for Colton. Rayquaza and Tapu Fini can't beat Celesteela. So while I don't think that necessarily switching the Rayquaza out was a bad play, just giving up your your only way of beating Celesteela, I feel was a very questionable step. Not something I was expecting, but now really just put on the back foot. We see Protect from Tapu Fini, so maybe trying to draw a Heavy Slam into that slot. We see Dragon Ascent.
Yeah, so we do see the Dragon Ascent. We'll see if this is enough to KO. I don't know what the damage looks like, and it is.
And it does just KO, so really does raise the question of...
Yeah, and, it could be, if Colton was anticipating that being a bulkier Kyogre, that's a fair thing. To try and play it safe, get the damage, it's just really unfortunate that he lost his Incineroar like that, because it was a really important Pokemon for helping get rid of this Celesteela.
Right.
So now we're in a 2v2 situation. I think it's going to be tough for Rayquaza to get this one out.
Yeah, Rayquaza not in a good spot whatsoever. Even with this Dragon Ascent potentially KOing Tapu Koko, still has to take a Heavy Slam.
Right. And it would be a -2 defense by then. It's got to take an attack from Tapu Koko. So we do see the Volt Switch to get rid of the Tapu Fini. I definitely think that was the right call for Colton to target the Tapu Fini first. With this Rayquaza locked into Dragon Ascent, it's not going to be able to deal a whole lot of damage. It actually does a lot to Celesteela. I'm pretty surprised to see that, and we do see the Leech Seed going into the Rayquaza, so that's going to put it on a timer while Celesteela heals back. I think Cedric's got what he needs in order to close out this game.
Yeah, the big turn with that game was that Incineroar on Colton's side. It's going down to that Origin Pulse. Just really allowing this Celesteela to just kind of dictate the rest of the game, and not a whole lot of options for Colton to really break through that once that Pokemon went down. So Cedric, while it looked like he was in a really bad position there,
he looked like he was kind of on the back feet for a second.
We talked about how he was making these great board position plays in Game 1. Goes for what most would probably say is an extremely risky read. going for that, just staying in the face of the choice band of Rayquaza, which OHKO'd him the next turn, and going for that Origin Pulse, but while it was a risk, rewarded heavily.
Exactly. He took the risk, and it paid off in spades. You know, letting him KO that Incineroar and putting himself in a position to win the game and move up to 4-0. So.
Actually, that was a 2-1 matchup. So Cedric is 3-1.
Was
yeah,
my
this was a
disregard.
2-1. So Colton now at X2 still can get championship points, but
Yeah,
will have to win
so-
out from here. And Cedric still has his top cut dreams alive. So, very good match right there. We appreciate y'all for watching. We should be coming to you guys with a winners interview here in a few moments. So stay tuned.
All right, Pokemon fans, I am joined at the desk by Cedric DeRouchie, the winner of the match that you just saw from round 4. So Cedric, big question here. Game 1, right? Colton gets Trick Room up. You did a great job positioning yourself in order to stall out Trick Room and then get yourself in position to start dealing damage as soon as Trick Room ran out. So walk me through kind of how you planned for that. Were you worried about Trick Room coming up at the start of the game, or were you aware that you had the tools to work around it?
I wasn't really that worried of Trick Room because I knew I could use my Coco, Infin, and Celesteela just kind of cycle around and stall it out. And yeah, I was just able to get into a position after the Trick Room to take a knockout and win the game pretty much.
All right, and then in game 2, there was one critical turn where you got the Origin Pulse off onto Colton's Incineroar. Like, was that the point that you knew you kind of locked it up, or did you still have
pretty
tools?
much.
And so then my next question is, it was sort of a big risk there, especially after we saw the Dragon Ascent one-hit KOing your Kyogre, a couple turns later. Were you worried about that, or what was your thought process there?
Not really. I expected, he knew I could easily switch it into my Tapu Koko, so he probably wanted to try to capitalize off that, and I just thought, why not take the knockout, because he's probably not going to fake out Dragon Ascent, because I have an easy counter to that.
Okay, so you're kind of making that second level read where you're like, all right, he's going to see me. He's anticipating me doing something to get around his obvious play, so what I'm going to do is let him make the obvious play and punish, whatever sort of tricks he's going up for. All right, that's about all I've got for you, Cedric. Before you go, you got anything you want to say to the viewers, anybody you want to thank, or anything else?
Not really.
All right. Well, congratulations. Moving on to 3-1. So good luck the rest of the day. We
you.
hope to see you back for Top Cut tomorrow.